What is going on, everybody? And in this video, I'm going to provide you a state of the market and stock picks for May 24th, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing as I do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and week ahead in this lovely market. So, being said, the market is still, I'm in the last 7 minutes here of the market. The market has been absolutely flat today. We had a bit of a pop. First attempted to actually try to sell. The market corrected. A lot of big tech tried to sell this morning, corrected and started pushing up, mainly because of the banks. Something I've been talking about coming into this over the past probably about a week and a half. The banks have been in a daily downward ascending wedge, and typically in a or descending wedge, excuse me. And in a descending wedge, what typically happens is the actually let me pull up a bank, JPM, since JPM I think absolutely is the only one that held the market up today. To be honest, a lot of the banks did very well though. But I've been talking about this descending wedge for a while now, and we actually got a big pop out of JPM today, but we are getting rejected. We are closing below this wedge, which is absolutely not surprising. We do have FOMC meeting notes at the end of the week. I think right now what we're trying to get is some sort of padding coming into that, because I do believe we're going to sell back down in the lower range when we do get those meeting notes. Now, those meeting notes are essentially just giving insight into the meeting that has already happened. People can rip apart the notes. It's just going to be a report that comes out at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. There will be no Powell, although Powell will be making an appearance tomorrow. But it's not, I don't think he's going to be taking any direct questions. So being said, I don't really think it's going to have that much of an impact. I think his screen time is actually going to be pretty limited tomorrow. But I believe that's at around 12:30 tomorrow Eastern Standard Time. So he will be on tomorrow. But again, I don't think he's going to be filling any direct questions. So with this, looking at the banks here, I think, again, we got rejected pretty hard. It did have some news about their electronic payment system, I think is what they were talking about. They had some news for JPM, enough to pop us up, which is a good sign. It did break us out of that smaller descending wedge, as you can see here. I did have that previously marked. It did break that. But breaking out of the bigger one, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to, again, sell into Wednesday. Again, new quarter too. You got to remember we finished all the this past quarter option expiration on Friday. So now we got a new option expiration. That's what the red lines essentially are for. So now moving into this new one, I think we could sell off a little bit more going into Wednesday. Determine if we break out of here. I think if the banks can break out of here and start heading up, that will help pull the index, and the banks helping in themselves is helping a lot of other stocks push the index back up. So let's jump back to SPX. SPX looks like absolute trash, but the big thing in here is it's winding tight, just like the banks. My thing is, again, I think coming into Wednesday, that's probably going to sink us back down in this lower range, the 38.48 mark. So I think we could potentially hit that even before coming into Wednesday, coming into tomorrow. Like I said, we tried to sell today, but it was JPM that pulled us up. We retested it, as you can see here now. And so what might actually happen is we might head back down tomorrow, and then for some weird reason, be back here by Wednesday. It's just the way the market's been. It's been really weird. It's been playing these really tight ranges leading into big events or really tight ranges in general. And again, the only reason I think the market pushed up was because of JPM. We had some bigger tech, Google and stuff, try to break out today. Apple tried to break out, but there is so much sell pressure. Nothing is really leaving the current area. Some of the value had some push as well today. And some of the safe havens like Aapl started selling off. So it's interesting to see this rotation that's going on. But nonetheless, tomorrow, again, I think will be interesting. I think, again, potentially we are hitting into that top this top area here, this trend line, this first trend line. You have the first daily trend line, then you have another daily trend line. And considering all the resistance above that we have, again, I think tomorrow we could potentially try to push here if we do stall at all, essentially around right around that 40, 42 mark again. I think we're going to fall back down into the zone. And we're going to chill here until we figure out what's going on with those meeting notes to hopefully provide insight into, again, the next meeting. Again, we had a lot of bad news with monkeypox. We had bad news with China potentially going back into Taiwan. That news is kind of being recirculated again. You had Biden essentially come out and threaten China that if they do decide to invade, that he will take action. So that was put out there. Again, it's not something new. It's been out there, but if some action is actually taken by China, you can guarantee that it's going to put a lot of fear right back into the markets. The market is really looking for some kind of positive sentiment. If it gets any kind of positive sentiment, the market, I think, is really going to rip from that point. But being said, we'd have to say we really have to see where we land. Again, I think if we come in flat tomorrow, maybe we drop back down to the zone tomorrow. Again, I think we can continue to fall leading into Wednesday, and then potentially push us right back up to this level again, to that 4K mark again, coming in, and see where we are. Again, I do believe we'll get a reversal somewhere in this area. Again, we still have 100 points, 200 points we could drop before we even get close to those EMAs down there. You still have to recognize that is on the board, and that is a lot, especially for an index. So just keep that in mind. The biggest thing is just being patient when the market chops like this. Again, the market wants answers. If it doesn't get answers, it's not going to move until it does get answers. Bitcoin, interesting. It started selling a little bit again today, but no panic, because Bitcoin always sells a little bit and pushes back up. But ultimately, I think it's still pretty solid. The market is waiting to see. One thing I like about Bitcoin is it's been consolidating. And again, the only reason I think we made this previous move is because of Luna. The only reason I think we dropped as far down to 25, it was because of that. And the issue with Luna and not creating blocks. But nonetheless, I think crypto is still trying to find a base. And I think it's around this 30K mark. But we have to see going forward. Again, as soon as the market looks like it's going to reverse, you get more bad news, and the more bad news keeps piling in. Now they're starting to recirculate China news. But it's not just recirculation. It's more China is starting to do more, is talking more again too. So I think that's what's pushing that news back out there. So we have to see, again, what's going on with this. But we could potentially head back up, I think, very shortly here in the near future. Just being patient and surviving this current market and what it is. Now going into tomorrow, again, considering that the market hasn't hardly moved, we're going to stay with a lot of big names here. Amazon or Apple and Tesla. You have to realize too that if something happens with China, Amazon and Tesla are going to get hit, or not Amazon, but Apple and Tesla are going to hit very bad, because they have factories in China. And you have to realize that Apple's actually looking for another place to develop a plant. So that should tell you something as well. They're trying to prepare for that just in case. And so be mindful of that strong possibility. This could be a potential bear flag, and we could potentially drop tomorrow. Again, you got a big wedge coming in. If we end up flat up here at 685 tomorrow, we can't break that. Could be another big dump to the bottom of 633 tomorrow. So got to watch that for Tesla. Apple, again, it's flirting with that 20. It actually showed a lot of strength in the morning and is trying to break up to the upside. Again, it hasn't retested that 200. So there's something to keep in mind too. The first retest in a while. Actually, I don't even think it's retested the 200. You could consider this a retest, but really when you break, you'll have that initial retest, but you want a bigger push off of that, push off of the original retest for a solid retest, and you get rejected hard off that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. All the market looks the same, so just be mindful of that. A lot of tech looks just like this. You are still floating around that 200 EMA. We didn't get an official break here, so if we land again anywhere below the 41 or the 141 again, could be a strong possibility we reject hard and start selling again. Again, this was a major support that we broke up here around that 150, and had a quick retest and sold off. Now we're going to get an official, a bigger retest here, get a sell off. Probably not as massive as this one, but it could be a lower high. It could develop. I mean, if you really want to start looking, try to predict this thing, right? It could be a head and shoulders pattern here. It could potentially lead up to the upside. Again, the chances of that happening, we don't really know. We have to really let it play out and see the way it looks. But Apple and Tesla are going to be some big ones watching, especially if China's starting to come into the picture again. And if, again, that any kind of war breaks out with China, that's really going to be an issue going forward. Google, as you can see, it looked like it was trying to break out, but it is just floating around this 2189 mark. Really hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. Even on the hourly, looking at it this morning, it was the first thing it started selling. It came out selling pretty heavy, and then it picked itself up. But again, looking for that really solid retest of that 20 up here at the 2313. Again, any of these pumps, they don't last but a couple days. Normally get a big pump and then kind of sideways and some sort of half pump, and then it just dies off. It's kind of pattern I've been seeing lately. I'll have to see if that's what plays out tomorrow. Amazon, another big one, kind of be watching. It's been holding this 2100 mark and then playing that top range of the 2200 mark. So again, everything's in a tight range. These are bigger ranges, which is nice, but you definitely want to keep an eye on these ranges. If it breaks the 2200 mark, we could potentially be breaking out of this altogether and reversing. But again, if it does break below the 2100, could really be going for breaks 2100. It's going to 2K pretty fast. But we have to see, like I said, it's looking after hours like it wants to try to push up a little bit more, but we'll have to see. You want to look at value. BA is holding in there. That's my thing, is like I don't like the fact that a lot of these stocks, they don't have a lot of meat left on the bone. So you're starting to price gouge bigger companies down to absolutely nothing. So it can continue to fall, and you can very well be rest assured that will happen in some way, shape, or form. But it is good to see that banks are starting to reverse to try to reverse this thing in general. Normally it will be the banks that reverse and push for a while, and then it's good to see some value starting to kind of push, starting to see again some of tech hold and push, but we definitely have to see in general what we get tomorrow, where we open up, because it's going to be big tomorrow. Again, I do feel we could potentially rally a little bit, only to sell off. I think anything going into Wednesday would be a sell. Again, just determining the way it is and how hawkish the Fed have been. And again, biggest thing to talk about here is that the Fed is leaving a lot of things just open. And when they leave things open, that leaves you guessing. And so guessing is not where institutions want to be, or retail sellers, right? Retail sellers, it doesn't really matter, but institutions, they need to know what exactly. And if you're going to leave them guessing, they're going to wait until you give them an answer. And so that's why we're getting a lot of volatility. That's why there hasn't been hardly any bounces. No one's buying into this market to the upside, and because they want to see what is happening with the market, especially with inflation. And last thing people want to do is put money in the markets and then maybe have to pull that money out sooner than 5 years, and then it just halves and then destroys people's futures. So we shall see what happens here. So again, going forward, we'll have to see what happens pre-market and then go from there. Again, for myself, I've been playing primarily just SPX and playing levels and playing short side. A lot of it's been short. I don't think I've been long for a minute. So there's just too much bad news. And even still, if we do get some good news, it's going to be quite obvious at that point, and the market will really start to rally at that point. But it'll be pretty blatantly obvious when that does happen. But right now, everything is extremely weak, even though there's some fighting here, trying to get back to the upside and keep it in range. When you get to these top ranges, they start selling again. So nonetheless, manage risk and stay alive. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.